Okay, so let me firstly introduce myself. So my name is Dr. Dawn Nicholson, and I am the Vice Chair of the Association for Business Psychologists. I'm currently working in academia. I work for Arden University as a program leader in the Masters in Business Psychology for that university. I am also the accreditation lead for the ABP. One of the things that we do in order to help set and preserve standards is basically accredit university programs. So I work with university partners to basically review their programs and make sure that they meet our standards. And I lead the accreditation team. And I am also the creator and all things related to the BizPsych Cup, which you may or may not have heard of, and which I'll say a little bit about in the course of this presentation. I'll also talk to you a little bit about what the ABP is and what we do. Then we'll spend a little bit of time perhaps getting to know you, what you might like from us, and I'll say something about any upcoming events, and then we'll have a bit of Q&A. So if there are any questions as we go along, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. But also please just put your hand up if you want me to stop, and I'm happy to take questions as well. So let me say a little bit about the ABP. So the ABP has been around for 24 years now. Next year is actually our 25th anniversary. It is the professional body for business psychology practitioners in the UK. The ABP was sort of born out of the BPS, actually, and the Division of Occupational Psychology within the British Psychological Society. And I think there was just a little bit of a feeling back then that people wanted a bit more practical, a bit more of a practical feel, and felt that at that point in time, at least, perhaps the BPS was a little bit overly focused on academia. And so that was sort of the catalyst, if you like, for the creation of the ABP. So we, as I say, have been going, it's now 25 years next year. We champion professional excellence. We focus on evidence-based practice. And it's really fundamentally about using psychology and an understanding of human behavior to improve business performance and the quality of working lives. And I think, in my view, there's never been a better time to be a business psychologist. The workplace is exceptionally complicated. Productivity is a massive problem, as we know, and I think some of that is to do with the state of the workplace in the United Kingdom and elsewhere. So I think there's a real opportunity for business psychologists at this point in time. So we have a range of values, basically, that we subscribe to, and you can see them all in front of you here. I mean, basically, first, the most important thing that I would say from an ABP perspective is that we view ourselves as being inclusive. So you don't have to be called a business psychologist. You might be using business psychology in your role. I mean, I worked, before I went back to academia, I worked in consulting. And I also worked in HR for a global US investment bank. I had no psychology background, no business psychology background. But I realized in retrospect that I was using business psychology a lot. We just didn't call it that. So we really welcome anyone who might be involved somehow, somewhere, in the use of business psychology principles and practices in their work. It's all about the application of business psychology. We want to make it as user-friendly as we possibly can. We have a large range of members, from student members, those who are currently undertaking study at undergrad and postgrad level in business, work, organizational, occupational psychology, whatever you want to call it. I think there is a bit of a branding issue in this field. HR, for example, as I've noted, individuals who are working in consulting. So our membership really comes from a very sort of varied and diverse perspective. And that's really, I think, testament to our desire to be inclusive. Obviously, we want to continuously promote business psychology. And as I've said, and as I've alluded to, I think there's a fantastic opportunity for business psychology. As things currently stand, there's a lot of change going on in the workplace. I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys that, with AI, for example, changing the ways of work. I mean, look at all the stuff that came out as a consequence of COVID around hybrid work. Some of that seems to be being unwound these days. But there's a lot of opportunity, I think, across the whole workplace where business psychology can play a role. I think what we need to be cognizant of is, it's not always clear, I think, to people in the workplace that there is a role for business psychology in the work that they do. And I think there's an opportunity there for us to help really the understanding and awareness of the value of business psychology grow. We also want to share examples of best practice. So we have our ABP Awards, which is a once yearly event. The next one is actually coming up in November, where we really showcase great work that's been done in the field of business psychology. And then we're also interested in standards, basically. So I've mentioned briefly the accreditation work that I do, but we also have a certification pathway if people are interested in augmenting their skill sets, and they can move through the certification pathway through certified business psychologist, certified principal business psychologist, all the way up to fellow of the Association for Business Psychology. And we also, earlier this year, launched a business coaching psychology certification as well. So big focus on psychology, knowledge, and skills. So I've alluded to most of this, but so what do? We set standards, as I've mentioned. And this is all about really trying to ensure that the skills and the skills of people who work in the field of business psychology are elevated, continue to develop. So we support formal business psychology education. That tends to be only education that's offered by higher educational institutions. So we set standards and support that. We have, as I've mentioned, a certification team. The team basically has derived standards for professional practice, and those standards vary depending on what level you want to apply for or see yourself at. And as I've said, we have 3 levels: CBP, Certified Business Psychologist; CPBP, Certified Principal Business Psychologist; and Fellow of the ABP, and also our new coaching certification. And we have a recognition team who, as I've alluded to, focuses on the achievement and the celebration of excellence in practice at our annual awards, which are coming up towards the end of November, basically. And we've already announced the finalists for those awards across a range of categories. And you can catch up with those posts, which have been coming out thick and fast quite recently on LinkedIn. We also have a big focus on education. So within the ABP, we have a training team, and that team looks at enabling practitioners to meet professional standards. We also have an events team that support on a range of events, many of which are aimed at continuing professional development. And we have a resources team. We have a vast library of resources with a lot of informative content. We're currently in the process of actually curating a lot of that content to make it more easily accessible, but a big focus on education. And then we also have an engagement team focused on attracting new members. Where might it make sense for the ABP to look for growth, basically? And we have, as I've mentioned, individual members, but we also have corporate members as well. So we have companies that have paid to be members of the ABP, and that also entitles them to cover numbers of their employees under their corporate membership umbrella. And we're always looking to grow. We're always looking for opportunities to expand the ABP membership profile. We have a retention team, and that's about looking at what we offer our existing members. Are we getting it right? Is there anything else that we should be doing? What are our members telling us? And we have an advocacy team, and that advocacy team focuses on representing business psychology to the industry, talking about the value of business psychology. I should just pause at this point and just sort of also stress that we do have an admin team that supports the ABP, but everyone who works directly for the ABP does so on a voluntary basis, not typically alongside their full-time job as well. So myself included. So but there is an ABP board, and you can find the details of the board on our website, basically. So yeah, as I've said, we rely heavily on volunteers, and we have a people and operations team that recruits and supports our volunteers across a range of volunteering opportunities that might include our annual conference, the awards, as I've alluded to, or opportunities within the training team, for example, or the engagement team. We would not be able to function were it not for the goodwill of our volunteers. So what else do we offer? As I've mentioned, we have an annual conference. This year, the theme was effectively around the rise of AI. And next year, the theme will really focus on guardianship and growth. And I'll say a little bit more about guardianship and growth in a moment, not just of our field, but also what employers and employees need to be thinking about within their workplaces to focus on guardianship and growth. And that will be our 25th year celebration also, as I've said. We send out a topical monthly newsletter that includes different articles, different topics, different themes, and an update on what's going on, what's happening on the accreditation front, what's happening on the events front, and that comes via email. There are a range of sort of ad hoc member offers and discounts that may come up from time to time. We've also just launched today a free jobs board, basically, where opportunities can be lodged for people who are looking to maybe hire someone in the business psychology space or whatever. The BizPsych Cup, which I run, is something that we launched 3 years ago. We're coming up to the 4th iteration of the BizPsych Cup. It's a team competition for student teams, and the student teams basically work on challenges that are set by the ABP's corporate members. That's a particular perk of being an ABP corporate member. You get to set a challenge for the BizPsych Cup, and that challenge can take many different forms. In the past, we've had things such as what are the challenges of working in a VUCA environment. We have focused on the importance of positive leadership. We have had many different things, and the challenges are all set by, as I mentioned, our corporate members. They're researched by the student teams who put together a BPS style poster in response to the challenge that is posed by the challengers. They are coached throughout the competition, which runs for roughly 10 to 12 weeks, including sort of the kickoff right through to the judging. It's a virtual judging event, judging the student teams' posters. The teams are mentored throughout the competition by a pro coach angel. A pro coach angel is basically a senior member of the ABP, either at certified principal business psychologist level or fellow. And they basically work with the team, not to answer the question for them, but to really kind of keep them focused on providing a commercial, if you like, takeaway. These are problems and challenges that are being raised by our corporate members, either because they are something that they're experiencing in their own businesses, their own organizations, or perhaps something that their client is also experiencing. So, and they work alongside the student teams. And we get great feedback both from the student teams, the challengers, the corporate members, and the pro coach angels who work in the BizPsych Cup. And as I say, I'm on the cusp of launching the 2024 BizPsych Cup as well. Professional membership status, as I've alluded to, you can simply choose to be a general member of the ABP, but if you are interested in augmenting your professional skill set, You can pass through our certification process, as I've alluded to, and through the various levels of certification. Online networking, this is really the sort of the example of this, I suppose, one example of this. And, we like to try and get people together, encourage debate, encourage conversation. So there are plenty of opportunities for online networking, and we do also offer some in-person events. Member and industry insights, we're obviously very alive to what's going on across the industry and where the industry could be doing more to work with businesses and help with businesses. We actually have just launched our 2024 Industry Insights Survey, and there will be a session to formally launch, if you like, the survey and some of the findings that we have gleaned from our survey early in October, and I'll give you the date for that when I talk about some of the upcoming events. Other than that, we also offer podcasts. There's a book club. So really, there's an awful lot going on that you can avail yourself of as ABP members. So I just want to say a little bit about guardianship and growth, because this is something that myself and Claire Lish, who is the chair of the ABP, currently have been talking about a lot. And we have began to have this conversation because we felt that there was a potential, a sort of pinch point, if you like, in terms of our field. There have been some challenges and complexities with the BPS and its recognition of stage 2 occupational psychology qualifications. There have also been some calls that I've seen across LinkedIn that the title of psychologist should be protected. There was a parliamentary petition that was going on that did actually gain a lot of signatures. So we want to focus very much on our role as guardians of our profession, of our field, and of those who work in it, but also the opportunities to grow it. So these are some of the things that we have been talking about. We see our role as guardians of having a real responsibility and commitment to upholding the values, the standards, and the integrity of our field. To call oneself a business psychologist, it's not just doing a week-long program and then suddenly you're a business psychologist. So we really want to be alive to upholding the standards. And we also want to protect the reputation of business psychology, but also the ethics and the quality of our field. Ethics, people sit at the heart of this particular area of practice, and you can't get away from discussing ethics when it comes to that. But we also take that guardianship role seriously in terms of mentoring new talent, existing talent, advocating for best practices. We don't want to just walk away from the field and leave it pretty much as we found it. It's all about how we can develop and enhance the field of business psychology in the time that we are with it, in it, around it, so that it continues to grow, not just in quality, not just in size, but in stature, reputation, etc. So we feel very strongly that we have a sense of stewardship, and we have a real commitment to the field's long-term health and reputation. And we want to grow the field, and we see growth as being critical to, again, leaving the field of business psychology in a better state than we left it. For us, that means mentoring the next generation. That, again, speaks to things like the BizPsych Cup, the way that we work with our university partners to help them and develop young and aspiring business and organizational occupational psychologists. We want to drive innovation. Our entire conference this year, as I've said, was focused on the role of AI in business psychology. We see, driving innovation, being open to change, looking for ways to change and bring new practice, innovative practice to our field as being vitally important. And we want that sense of continuous learning. We can all continue to learn. The learning journey doesn't stop. I know I went back to university at the age of 50 to do my second degree and then a PhD. So it is about that continuous desire to learn and grow. So we, believe that it's for us now in this moment to ensure that the field continues to evolve. It evolves to new opportunities, new challenges, and adapts to those new challenges, but that it also remains vibrant and relevant for the future. Whatever that future may look like. People say to me, what do you think business psychology looks like in the world of AI? Well, my view on that is if I was sitting at my HR desk and I needed to find out something, maybe in the way that I used to go Google it, I'll now go to ChatGPT or Copilot or something of that nature. But I'm always going to need an expert. I'm always going to need an expert to refine that thinking and develop that thinking, to critique what is spat out by the wonderful AI tools that we're all using these days. So we see our role as being very much a catalyst for progress. We want the field not only to survive, but also to thrive as well. So how can we be a catalyst for progress? Again, as I've said, I think it is about embracing innovation. What are the trends in the industry? What do we see happening? What do we hear and know is happening from our contacts, clients, connections in the world of business? What are new ideas? What are new technologies? Nothing stands still here. It's very clear. The world changed dramatically during the COVID years, and it's changing dramatically again as we get further and further away from COVID. So what are the innovative practices? How can we help organizations be the best that they can be and create happy, healthy, and fulfilled workplaces for those who work in them? It's all about improving efficiency, quality, and impact. And mentoring and educating, as I've said, we see that is a big part of that. We want to make sure that our members and we can share our knowledge and experience, especially for those who are newer to the field or just embarking in the field. And, they will come through ultimately to be the future leaders. So we want to be active when it comes to mentoring and teaching that new talent. And so, as I've alluded to, that speaks to our efforts around the BizPsych Cup, student engagement, and setting standards for our university partners as they help us to create the next generation of business psychologists. Collaboration, as I've said, I don't think it is, you don't have to be a business psychologist to be using business psychology. There are a lot who would not necessarily define themselves as business psychologists, perhaps, who are actually using it. Behavioral scientists. I mean, there's a lot of different terms, different titles these days. We want to collaborate with people outside of our field to make sure that, that spark of new ideas is there and that we can continue to come up with innovative partnerships, innovative approaches and breakthroughs that continue to drive our field forward. We advocate for change. Where does change need to happen? Is it about standards? Is it about ethics? Is it about diversity? Is it about the way that we undertake our practices? How can we bring about positive change? Lifelong learning. I'm a fundamental, absolute believer of lifelong learning. And I think that involves a commitment to continuous personal and professional development. And we want to continue to expand our own skills and our own knowledge, and therefore be an example and an inspiration to others to do the same. And of course, we want to promote best practice. We want to lead by examples when it comes to the highest standards of practice within our field. And in doing that, we hope that we can set a benchmark for others to follow. So there's only a couple of us, 2 or 3 of us, I think, on here. So I'm not going to ask us to go into breakout rooms, but I wonder if you would be comfortable sharing either with your camera on or camera off, whatever you prefer, a little bit about yourselves, basically. Hi, Mark.
Hi, I don't mind starting. So my name's Mark. So I work for a consultancy. What you were saying then kind of was quite interesting in terms of your background, because I turn 50 next year now. Hopefully we'll start a PhD. But yeah, I work for a coaching consultancy, one of the original coaching consultancies, the developer of the Grow model. So I work with those guys. And I undertook an MSc in Ox Psychology. Well, it comes to the end in December. So my thesis is due at the end of the year. Purely out of interest, I recognise it was one of those subjects that complements management consultancy and leadership and all that kind of thing and coaching. So I thought, well, actually, this is really interesting, which I found has kind of taken all the pressure off me this year when I've been studying, because it's of interest. It's not necessarily a career move, but the more I've really kind of moved into it, and the reason I undertook that was because I did my test user qualifications a number of years ago, and I did different tools, and as we are. And as I was going through it, I was having a chat with a friend of mine who's again PhD, Kevin Wilson Smith. He's part of the ABP, but also the BPS. And I was looking through the BPS. I wanted to do chartership because my first degree wasn't in psychology. I'd have had to do a conversion degree and spend a crazy amount of money to get chartership when it really wasn't going to benefit me. And I could never see myself making that money back as part of that. So Kevin was the one that says, look, I do some work for the ABP right now. Take a look at those guys. You might be interested in their kind of their credentials, their certifications. So, okay, I'll go down that route. And as it happens, I thought, oh, hang on, they do a coaching one as well. That sounds good. That sounds new. So I signed up last week as a student member. I've had one or two hiccups with the membership, so my portal's not working kind of as it should. But Judy's been amazing with that. She's absolutely, I can't speak highly enough of her. She's been fab
Judy's on here actually, so she'll love to hear that.
Oh, there you go. She's changed her name now. Yeah, she's been fantastic with that. So yeah, it's really kind of been a great experience compared to my experience with the other body, should we say, who, when I had issues with them, it was a week before I got a reply, and it was a snotty reply at best. So the experience wasn't the best. Even though I am still, a student member of the BPS, and I've just undertaken my forensic testing qualification with those guys as well. Kevin's taken me through that, but I found the difference, like I said, with the ABP has been fantastic, and I'm really looking to move towards that certification in the business psychology area. And then hopefully start the PhD probably next September. I'll take a few months to kind of, step back a little bit, but it'll be a non-chartership PhD because like I said, I just cannot justify going through that process. I don't see the benefits to it, but I can see the benefits to becoming a certified business psychologist.
Yeah. And where are you doing your master's?
Northumbria.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there I see they're offering the professional doctorate. Is that what you're thinking of doing?
No, because that's one that they've dug out of the archives. I spoke to my tutor. I got really well with him, and he said that's an accelerated 2-year one for people who've got chartership.
Yeah,
so you have to have chartership first, and then it's accelerated. So it will be that same sort of route, but it'll probably be the 5-year one rather than the accelerated one.
Yeah, cool. Ranald, hi.
Hi there. Can you see me? Sorry, I'm in a
perfectly.
cafe, so brilliant. Hi Mark, hi Judy as well. So I'm less prepared than Mark, to be honest. I am my background, I'm in real estate. I work in property. I'm a trained architect, and I've recently left my last job and just to explore what else is out there. And I joined the ABB trying to just understand what business psychology is and trying to know more about it. So I want to know how it might help me in terms of my career progression, and also just generally really on coaching, organizational leadership management, that sort of things. I think my last 2 roles, the last 6 years, has shaped me into quite a technically focused person. So I think my communication skill set is kind of fall through the cracks a little bit. So, and I'm hoping the business psychology understanding is going to help me a little bit on that. Also to help coaching people. I'm turning 35, so I'm sort of mid-manager level, I would say. Potentially next role, hopefully more senior. But I think that will be quite crucial in shaping the next generation, who are the graduates, the people who are just turning 30, etc. Because I'll have a lot of those hopefully under my management in the upcoming years. I've not thought about whether I'm going to study in any degree going forward so far. Because architecture took me 7 years, and then I did a master's in real estate as well. So I've done a lot of studying. I feel like already, and I'm not quite ready to be back in school that much yet. So
Understood.
yeah.
So, I
But
mean,
yeah,
what do you, that's great. Thank you very much for sharing. I mean, interesting kind of career flip basically, or a little, at least a little sort of a little detour, maybe it is. So, I mean, I guess question to you both really. I mean, what would the perfect business psychology membership body provide to you?
do you want to go first, Mark?
I guess for me, it's I like the events. I like the little micro learning. A little like I love the I can't remember what you said, that the latest research that was out, that kind of thing. And it's really looking at how all of that can be taken and applied. It's the application of psychology, and that's the difference I found with the BPS. It was very much around, would you like to submit a journal article, that type of thing, as you said before. Whereas I really want to actually, what's the real application of this in the workplace, not what's the mean score of whatever it might have been. What does it mean to the workplace? And like I said, for me, it's interesting as well, and it's what's the latest thinking as well, not just how can we use it, but like you say, AI and things like that, just to give us some insights. Maybe lunch and learn or an article or something like that. But I'd also like I said, to go through the certification as well. That's kind of my probably over the next 6 months, I would say that will be my kind of pathway. I think once I've got the masters coming towards the end of it, I don't know if do you need, is it important to have a postgrad to be able to go through certification, or is that kind of a so it's even knowing things like that as well, and just being able to reach out and ask questions, which I've been able to do already so far, which has been fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, quite a few of our members do have a master's, but I think it's mainly just because they've gone that route, much like yourself, and they've found their interest, as it were, from doing that, either from doing the program or from actually thinking about it and then doing the program, basically. So we do have quite a few people who are masters, who have their masters, but it's not a requirement, no, to go through the certification process. Basically, the two are completely delinked.
Fantastic. So yeah, so really, it's just like I say, it's just having that kind of that support and knowing that I get regular kind of updates, and I can, I do like to train, I do like to kind of learn. So having a little bite-sized learning and things like that, and just be able to go and read the latest articles, that type of stuff.
Yeah, great. And Ranald, I guess you're in a different situation, but how about from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, my focus, I think, is really to meet like-minded people and perhaps get some inspiration from different people outside of my industry, really. I think business psychology is a soft skill set which benefits anyone in whichever industry they are, as long as they workplaces, etc. So yeah, it's really to get ideas, and I mean, if that slowly entails down the line, I might do a degree and get qualified to potentially support my career or just support my interests, which is to coach people, which I think can be true. And I think that is in my character to do that, generally, to help people out where I can. So that might be it, really. Yeah, but otherwise, then it's just like I said, it's the resources, and it's just to open myself to something new, something more, different inspiration and ideas of how to work with people, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it for me. As I said, I've only kind of been sort of, I suppose, in this field formally, I guess I would say, maybe for the last 11, 12 years. But in retrospect, certainly when I was in both my HR and consultancy jobs, I was using it all the time. I mean, I wasn't using the technical terms or the technical language or the academic language, but when I look back and think, for example, when I was looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's all about social identity and social identity theory. So there's definitely a lot of application. And I think the true skill in this kind of goes to what you were saying, Mark, is, it's about, I know what the theory is, but how do I make that real and relevant for a client, basically, or my own work situation, whatever that work situation might be. How do I apply this with my team? How do I apply this with my colleagues, for my workplace, with my clients? Whatever it is, basically. And I think that's the great opportunity that business psychology has right now. Okay. So just talking about the events. I mean, I hope you've both been able to find your way to our website. And we do have an events tab on that website, but I'll just highlight here a couple of the upcoming events, basically. So the book club. Again, most of these books, it's not like reading, Richard Osman or whatever. They are books that are relevant to business psychology and business psychologists in some way, shape, or form. So the book club is meeting online later this month for an hour. And most of these events are, to use your phrase, Mark, bite-sized. Basically, we know that people are doing them in their lunch hours, or maybe they're giving us an hour or so in the evening. So we deliberately try and keep them scheduled in such a way that people can access them, hopefully in a way that works for them. We've also, as I alluded to, undertaken our first industry insights survey this year. We went out with a survey to a whole host of individuals, members and non-members of the ABP, and we are presenting back the findings from our industry insights survey on the 4th of October, and that again is going to be online, basically. So should be able to attend that if you're free. We still do run in-person events. We went back to those after, in a post-COVID world. And this is an indication here of the collaboration aspect. Peter Cheese is the chief executive of the CIPD, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. Again, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for synergy between business psychology and human resources, having worked in HR myself for 16 years. And Peter will be presenting at the University of Westminster, talking about business psychology in a changing world of work. So I think that's, probably going to be a really fascinating opportunity. And then again, moving back to online on the 18th of October, we've got Dr. Rainer Kurtz, who's chief psychologist, who will also be talking about some of his work, basically. So there's a lot that you can, choose. A lot of it is free from as far as our members are concerned. Some do carry fees for non-members, basically. But there's a lot of opportunity out there to to dip in, to expand your thinking, expand your horizons, basically, and learn a lot of new things and make a lot of new contacts. The website, again, as I say, hopefully you've been able to find your way to that. Judy, if you're there, I don't know if you can actually maybe drop the link into the chat, just so that Mark and Reynold can see it if they haven't seen it. And there's a lot of resources on the website. We talk about the professional development journey there, whether you want to go through the certified business psychologist route or the certified coaching business psychologist route. This is, as I said, that the latter is a new launch for us, a new certification launch for us. And that really, and you've both talked about coaching, stems from our belief that there's more and more coaching from a business psychology perspective and opportunities from a business psychology perspective as well. So support for professional developments there. We talk about member benefits. You can manage your membership there, and also opportunities for networking through the members areas. You can find people who maybe have similar interests to yours or different areas of interest to yours, and use the members network area to support your any networking, basically. So the members only networking tool, you basically complete your profile. It's not onerous. You might sort of indicate, what your interests are, and then you basically can opt in. So you don't have to be networking if you don't want to be networking, but if you want to be part of the networking group, then you can opt in, and then you can access the networking tool, basically. I mean, there's a whole range of different interests, talents, ranging from, very sort of crunchy, technical, psychometric type stuff, if that's your bag, through to, much wider fields of business psychology, basically. And that sort of summarizes who we are. I mean, I've been involved with the ABP now since, I think it was late 2019 when I sort of came to the party. Personally, for me, I found it great. I found it really great, particularly as I said, moved from business into academia. but I wanted to have something that, you know, still had that business practicality and that sort of businessy feel, not just from an academic perspective. So the ABP has been a great home for me in that respect, basically. And I'm still continuing to learn about the ABP and everything that it offers, and everyone everyone in it, and the talent and the different levels of interest that they have. But I've found it to be just really a fascinating journey and a fascinating opportunity. I went to the conference this year. It was outstanding in terms of the speakers and the thought leadership around the integration of AI and things like that, for example. So yeah, welcome, and I hope that you feel as positive about it as I do in the months and years to come. Any other questions, things you want to raise?
Not at this moment for me. I think I just need to browse through the members area and see what they are, and then take it from there, really.
No problem. We have a LinkedIn feed as well. The ABP has its own LinkedIn feed, so follow the LinkedIn feed. I'm also very happy to connect on LinkedIn. I think it's Dr. Dawn H. Nicholson. So please do you know, connect with me as well directly. Well, welcome, and I hope to, you know, see you at some future events.